This episode of the Gate of Trust podcast is dedicated to the upcoming wedding
of Ilan and Gila Leonard. May you build a binyan adayad.
Mazel Tov to the young couple.
You're listening to the Gate of Trust podcast. Join hosts Matt Trush and Felix Friedberg's heart-to-heart conversations with artists, entrepreneurs, scholars and laymen who, by strengthening their trust in God despite all odds, experience outright miracles. Trusting in God can literally save lives. And now, Gate of Trust podcast hosts Matt and Felix.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Felix.
And this is the Gate of Trust podcast. Hey, Felix, what's the joke for the day?
Oh, Matt, I've got a real good one for you today. Here it goes. An American tourist was riding in a taxi in Israel. As the taxi approached a red light, the tourist was shocked to see the driver go straight through without even slowing down. He was surprised as he was. He didn't say anything, feeling like I'm a guest, in a country, like, I don't know, I don't want to make waves. So the trip continues until the next intersection. This time the light's green, and to the American's surprise, the driver comes to a halt. Now he can't contain himself. So he says, listen, when you went through the red light, I didn't say anything, but why on earth are you stopping at a green light? The Israeli driver looks at the American as if he was deranged. Are you crazy? He shouts. The other guy has a red light. Do you want us to get killed?
I didn't see that one coming.
Sounds like Israel, right? Sounds like Israel.
Pretty much sounds like Israel.
Yeah.
Speaking of Americans in Israel, today we've got Donny Fein, managing partner of Elite Israel Realty.
How you doing,
Donny,
guys?
his wife, and 4 children made Aliyah from New York to Eretz Yisrael in 2009, where Donny focuses mostly on helping new immigrants find their home in Israel.
Beyond Donny's day job, he's also the founder of the Mitzvah Opportunity. The Mitzvah Opportunity helps those with an immediate financial need in Israel without having to go through all the red tape. I call it Hatzalah for Tzedakah.
What led Donny to start this Mitzvah Opportunity?
How did Donny coin his motto? It's not schnorring, it's raising capital.
Finally, what does all of this have to do with bitachon, trust?
All this and more on today's Gate of Trust podcast interview with
the beloved Donny Fein.
Really great to be here, guys. That was just a great intro. I've heard a couple of your episodes, and now we get to see it live. It's really very cool.
Yep. Yep.
You guys have great chemistry.
Thank you. We don't have a long list of people because we look for people like yourself who have a really good story and that are connected to bitachon. So tell me and our listeners, Donny, your story. How did the Mitzvah Opportunity come about?
I go back many years on this story. Goes back over 20 years. Basically, I was an accountant out of college. I had just gotten married, and I didn't really know much about or even think about other people's finances. I wasn't much in the tzedakah world, and I think it was my first year working, maybe second year. There was a guy who was a couple years above me. He was a manager in the office, and we were the 2 frum guys in the office. Of course, everybody's Jewish in the accounting firm, but we were the 2 frum guys, and we had lunch every day together. We used to talk together. We actually know each other from way back when, and turns out, comes to me one day and he says, out of nowhere, he goes, I have a really important question to ask you. I'm like, what? Anything? He goes, I need $2,000 to cover my electric bill, or my electric's going to be turned off like tomorrow or whatever, like imminently. And I was just like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But see what I could do. Didn't really think much of it. Back then, it was before WhatsApp, before smartphones. This is going back there was no iPhone back then. I went online to the local Yahoo group, and I wrote an email to the group. And you have to understand, today, I rarely use emails. So to me, this sounds like really like archaic. I wrote an email. I said, I know a guy needs $2,000 to cover his electric bill. He's got a family. He's got a home. Does anybody want to chip in? A couple minutes later, I get an email from a random woman. I have no idea who she is to this day. I wish I could access that email to go back. And she tells me that she's dropping $2,000 at my house for this guy to pay his electric bill. And I was pretty blown away.
Oh, that's amazing.
Didn't think much of it till many years later, 2017. I had been in Israel for 8 years already, and I'm on a bus on the way home from Jerusalem, and now I'm on my smartphone, I'm on Facebook, and I see a woman. She posts on Facebook that she's a single mom. I think she was a single mom. I may be wrong, but irrelevant, and they have no money for food for Shabbos. And I don't know how it caught my eye, what, and I go back to the story of my friend from 20 something years ago, and I was like, maybe we can help her. So I sent her a private message, and I said, can you just give me like a reference, somebody that can verify your situation? And she sent me a name. It happened to be, I know the guy. I was like, perfect. I emailed him. Again, there was no WhatsApp. Things didn't go as quickly as they do today. And I emailed him. He said, yeah, this woman, she needs help. That was on Friday morning. Maybe it was a Thursday. I think it was a Friday morning. I got home and I called a few of my friends. I said, there's a family locally that needs money for food for Shabbos. Let's help her out. And I went to 3 or 4 friends, drove around to their houses, collected a couple hundred shekels, whatever it was, and dropped it off by her. She had money for food for Shabbos. And then little by little, I was noticing more posts like that. People, families posting, I need money for food. I need money to pay rent. And after not too long, I started a WhatsApp group. It was called Tzedakah group because, like, what else would I call it? And it was put 3 or 5 friends, I think it was, started. And we were like, raising a couple hundred shekels almost on a weekly basis. And every Friday I would run to my friends' houses and deliver it to the families until those 5 friends snowballed into 10, 20, 30, and we were doing bigger amounts. And I'd gotten connected with a 501c3, an American organization that people could donate. And it's set up to help families in Israel. So wonderful. I had this 501c3, and somewhere along the line, I also connected with a CE46, which is the Israeli equivalent of a 501c3. People were now able to get tax receipts. It started in 2017. About 2020, I was sitting downstairs in my house, and my family, were kind of going through a tough situation, but it was Corona, and I realized that everybody was going through a tough situation. I think I had 50 on the group at the time, and I said to my wife, I said, what if I had 100 people on the group? My wife she's my cheerleader. She's like, yeah, go for it. Do it. And I'm like, seriously? I'm like, do you think that's like crazy? How am I going to manage that? She's like, whatever, see what happens. So I opened up the group, and I said, and I think I made a LinkedIn post, and I said to the group, please, if you know anybody that wants to join, please join. Like literally, like almost in a very short period of time, I had 100 people on the group. And it started where I was writing scratches on a napkin, amounts that people were donating. I would post the raise on the group about the family. People were donating. It would come in very quickly, and on a napkin, or the nearest pen and paper that I could find. Like, there was no notebook. I don't even know why I did it I had a thing about napkins, writing on napkins, and I would do the totals until I reached the goal, and I'd say, boom, we reached the goal. Here's a link to donate. Or if you want to donate in cash, then I was dealing a little bit more in cash. Now it's like zero cash. I'd go to people's houses to pick it up, or they would drop it off by my house, and we'd get it to the hands of the family very quickly. Then along the line, a couple more LinkedIn posts. Hillel told me to post about what I'm doing. We had a breakfast meeting, and next thing I know, he posted about it. And somehow, by the time I got to Hillel Fold, I was already at 250, 300 people on the group. Now, Hillel posted about a year ago. Today, I think I'm at 695, maybe 696 people on 3 groups in Israel. We're raising about 250 to 300,000 shekels a month.
Wow.
All through organizations. The families are getting the money. If not the day it's requested, because I have like a slush fund that I can front money, but within a couple days. And we're helping a lot of family. We're helping them with medical, rent, you tell me there's a family that needs food for Shabbos. I'm dropping everything, and I'm delivering it myself. Money. I don't necessarily get into, there was Tamchei Shabbos when I lived in New York. I loved delivering on Thursday nights, Tamchei Shabbos. I don't go, and I'm not going to say that I haven't, but that's not necessarily what I do. I'd rather get money or food carts into the hands of the people, let them go shopping themselves, let them feel like a mensch, and go and buy what they want. But we'll get them the money. So that's where we're at today. Since 2017, we raised well over 5 million shekel. That's about, we're pushing almost $2 million now that we've raised just on WhatsApp groups. There's kind of like franchise WhatsApp groups in New York, in New York City, 5 towns per Rockaway, and New Jersey. And then there's another group in Hashmonaim, the city of Hashmona itself created their own WhatsApp group. So now we have 7 WhatsApp groups, over probably about 1,200 people giving on WhatsApp, on these WhatsApp groups. And I could go on forever about this, but that's the evolution of the group.
That's really quite a story. And obviously you're seeing success, but tell us, you call it the Mitzvah Opportunity. Why is it, how so an opportunity?
Okay, so I just had a meeting today with somebody who's looking to start a group in another community in Israel. And she said to me, she goes, I don't like asking people for money. And I said, neither do I. I'm not a fundraiser. I actually worked as a fundraiser in an organization not too long ago, and I didn't like it. I love the organization, but I don't like asking people for money. So you got to look at it from a different perspective. I said, you just got to do a mind shift. People these days are looking for opportunities to do chesed, to do mitzvahs. People love doing mitzvahs. I'm providing the people in the group, and I'm not saying this because this is how it's set out, but this is from the feedback that I get from the people on the group, that they thank me for the opportunity. Every time somebody donates, I'll say to them, thank you. And they'll say to me, thank you. And I'm like, why are you thanking me? You're the one that donated. They're like, well, thank you for the opportunity for donating. They're so happy that they're able to donate to a family. When I write a raise, I write 5 or 6 lines about the family. How many kids in the family? Do the parents work? What do they do? What's the struggle? They kind of get to know the family. I've had people on the group tell me that they read what I write, and it immediately brings them to tears. So they just learning about the families. People are really struggling. The cases that come across my desk are pretty dire. So they look at it from their perspective as that I'm giving them an opportunity to do a mitzvah, to participate, to help save a family. That's why we changed the name to Mitzvah Opportunity. And thank God, it's about the people. It's about the members of the group. For me, on a personal level, what inspires me to continue to do, I'll do 1 to 2 raises a week. And it's not necessarily the families on the group that keep me going. It's the people on the group, 695 people on the group that they just blow me away every time. Every time I do a raise for whatever amount it is, they come through for the families, and it just blows me away every time. And they're very thankful to have the opportunities.
Donny, it's totally incredible what you're doing. It's amazing that you have the opportunity to give so many people the opportunity to help others in Israel. I remember 20 years ago, I was in Sfas as a student, hanging out at Ascent. And I remember one day, Big Mo said, hey, you can go get a free meal around the corner. Why don't you go? So I said, oh, that's cool. I was like a college student at the time. I showed up, stand in line, I get some food, and I sit down, and all of a sudden I look around, and everybody around me are these people at a soup kitchen. I didn't realize where I was. And wow. I was just sort of in tears saying, like, I came here for a free meal, but really everybody's coming here for a free meal. I remember there's a picture of the Rebbe, and I remember thinking to myself, what chesed there is in Israel to help people in need. So are you funding some of these soup kitchens? Are you doing it on an institutional level? Or are you really helping people one-on-one?
So I have guidelines on the group. For example, unfortunately, these days, there's a lot of online campaigns. There's a death in the family, and they make an online campaign, or someone is sick in the family. I don't support those campaigns. I believe that if there's a family in need and somebody is able to set up a campaign for them, they have the entire internet at their hands and they can raise money. And some of them have been very successful. If they do it the right way, they can be very successful. Again, it's because you tell a good story and they'll give. These soup kitchens also, I'm not going to say that I haven't. For example, what happened recently by the Egyptian border, there was a soldier was killed about a month ago. And my wife has a friend, and she told me her son is in the unit that this soldier was killed. And I said, we need to do something for this unit. Now it became personal. I know the kid, his unit. Thank God he was home for Shabbos. I think it happened on Shabbos, if I remember correctly. He wasn't there. It could have been him. I said, we need to boost the morale of these soldiers. And I asked around, where's the nearest pizza shop to the Egyptian border? Basically in Eilat, and it said that it was Mitzvah Rimon. Somehow I got to a pizza shop in Mitzvah Rimon. I called up the guy. It was a Pizza Hut in Mitzvah Rimon. It was a Mahadran Pizza Hut. And I said to the worker, I said, I'd like to order pies for 80 soldiers on the Egyptian border. The guy's like, yeah. And he gives me the number to his boss, because he's like, this is way out of my league. So he gives me the number to his boss, and I call his boss. And the guy was blown away by what I wanted to do. and he gave me a steep discount on the pizza. He goes, you just really just need to pay the delivery and my cost, and I'll get the pizzas. So while I don't support like soup kitchens and things like that on an everyday basis, I do things like that, and I use the group money to do things like that. I try to get involved as much as I can, but we also do it under the radar. I'm creating a website now, but it's just geared towards getting more people on the group to encourage people to tell the stories of the people on the group, not necessarily about the families. And we don't support any one particular thing. We don't support any particular families on a long-term basis. It's really like emergency stopgap type of raises. For example, just yesterday, Sunday, I got a call from a woman in Beitar. It's actually a woman who maybe 2.5 to 3 years ago, we gave her a loan. Sometimes we'll do a small loan, 2,500 shekels, pay me back 100 shekels a month, 500 shekels a month, whatever you're comfortable with. Eventually they all get paid off. They say when you make a loan, expect not to get it back, but it's not a good investment, but thank God it was a good investment. We got the money back, and that we were able to recycle the money and give it to somebody else. So she calls me up. She said, I haven't spoken to you in a while, but me and my husband work really hard, and we made 2 weddings this past year. And the second wedding, we had to give head checks to the catering hall, and one of them is about to bounce. And I need 7,000 shekels in my account today, meaning Sunday, or the check is going to bounce. And if it does, the bank is basically going to close my account. I don't know if you know how it works here in Israel. Don't think the rules and regulations in America are as tough as they are here in the banking system. If you bounce a certain amount of checks, they'll basically shut down your account for a year, and it's very difficult to get it reopened. It's a big struggle. So I try to help people avoid that. So I said to her, I said, let me see what I could do. I made a phone call to the Kupa Shel Tzedakah in Beitar, and I said to them, and I've spoken to the guy before who runs the Kupa, and I said, you know this family? Yeah, I know this family. Well, they need 7,000 shekels today. He goes, I don't know. I go, I have an idea, and you can't say no. Let's go halvesies on it. Let's partner on this. You give 3,500, I'll give 3,500. By the end of the day, the woman had 7,000 shekels in her account from each of us. And we were able to save her. And she's literally, as I'm talking on my LinkedIn, she's thanking me about how we were able to pull that off so quickly. So like an organization, a tzedakah organization, they're going to tell the woman, you got to fill out forms. I need your bank statements. And yeah, the organization does. They said to her, we're giving you this money on condition that you fill out these forms, get tax returns and that. But because of what I brought to the table, they deployed the funds immediately, instead of saying, first give me the paperwork and then we'll give you the money. So that's something that we've been able to help people like that. I could tell you years ago, there was a situation where family needed 34,000 shekels. In Israel, dental insurance, there really is no dental insurance. You get basic coverage. If God forbid, you need something major done, you pretty much have to pay out of pocket. It's really expensive. There's a family they have no money to begin with. And then the father, who was like looking for a job because he was out of a job, and they have kids to feed. He fell and knocked out his front teeth, needed dental work of 34,000 shekels. So I posted on the group. By then I had already realized that like I could do larger amounts, and I was confident that I'd raise that amount on the group, 34,000 shekels. And a member of the group randomly reached out to me. He goes, if you raise half of it, I'll match the other half. And I was just like, you don't even know the family. What does it mean? You're gonna give whatever it was, 18,000, 17,500 shekels? He's like, yeah, I love what you're doing, and I want to participate in this, and this will incentivize other people to give as well. So I thought that was a pretty cool story.
Wow, Donny, these are amazing stories. We interview a lot of people that will say, I had this problem and I put it out there for Hashem, and then the money showed up, and it's like you're on the business end. You're on the business end of the prayer, right? You're actually like the cutting edge of the prayer. So going to the heart of the matter on the gate of trust, like, do you learn the gate of trust? And if so, how has it strengthened your trust in order to be doing what you're doing, which is basically answering prayers? So
I'll be honest with you, right now, first of all, I do learn Chavos Halvavos twice a week with a chavrusa of mine. I think we're in Shar Hamuna. He's going to kill me if I get the wrong Shar wrong. So we're not doing Shar B'tachon yet. We'll get to it, but I know random things here and there. We're definitely learning them. I will tell you a great story about my chavrusa that actually recently just happened. And he won't kill me for saying this because he's kind of let the cat out of the bag already. My chavrusa he's a tremendous tzaddik and Talmid Chacham. He could compete in any Torah conversation with anybody. He's been learning for many, many years. He's a YU guy, but he's been learning many, many, many years, hours a day. He's almost done with Shas. I'm nowhere near his level. I'm only learning anything. And he's the one that got me to go to Minyan a few years ago. That's a whole other story. Like, I daven 3 times a day and I learn because of this guy. And he's going through, I don't want to say a tough time now, because compared to the families that I'm helping on the group, he's doing pretty well. But for him, it's a challenge. So he was working for a company for a long time, and it was sold, and they hired him, and now his job is kind of like on shaky ground, and he's worried. And I was saying to him, like, Ari, it's going to be okay. Hashem loves you. You are such a good guy. You take care of so many people. What is there to worry about? And he has this like worry on his face. And I think something changed when I had a conversation with the Rav of mine, Rav Aaron Pessin. He's a tremendous Talmid Chacham here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And I had a conversation with him, and I was telling him what was going on with Ari. And he goes to me, he says, do you know why Ari's going through this now? I go, no. He goes, you're learning Chovos HaLevavos with him now. He goes, until now, Ari had it easy. You know, nobody actually has it easy, but you know what I mean. Ari has it easy until now because he wasn't learning Chovos HaLevavos. Now Hashem is saying, Ari, now you're ready to be tested. And Ari's like, and for me, that's like a kiss from Hashem. I believe that when Hashem tests you, the more Hashem loves all of us. I don't want to chas v'shalom say doesn't want to love one more than the other, but if Hashem is testing you, he wants you to come closer to him. But he won't test you until you're ready to be tested. Ari's now ready to be tested. And I know deep down that he's going to pass it with flying colors. He's going to find something even better than what he had before. Just doesn't know it yet. We don't know what it is, but it is going to be something. So I think that's a great story in terms of learning this and learning about bitachon. It's really something that I'm 46 years old. I would say I really didn't know I didn't know anything about it until I turned 42, 43. I will tell you on a personal level, and I love to tell this story because it was really like a turning point in my life. 2 years ago on Hanukkah, my son came to me and he was dating a girl and he wants to get married. He's 20 years old, doesn't have a job. He's still has yet to be drafted. He was in Mechina, which is an army training school in Israel, and he has yet to be drafted. He's got a ways to go before he could really put food on the table. And I came over to my wife. He's like, we want to get married. And immediately I said to myself, I have 2 ways of approaching this. I could say, no, you're crazy. I can't afford to make a wedding. You can't afford to get married. How are you going to support yourself? Or I could look up to Shemayim and say, Hashem, this is on you. So, and that's what I did. It was Hanukkah time. I remember lighting the candles. My Rebbe, Rabbi Aryeh Cohen, who's from the 5 towns, he told me a beautiful minhag that he has, that he sings Vizakeni when he lights the Hanukkah candles. And I remember that Hanukkah was so special. Every night I would sing Vizakeni, and it was so mechazik me about my children and how I want them to be. And I saw this as an opportunity to show my kids, like, yeah, a few months before that, I had to borrow money from a friend to pay rent. And now I'm going all in. I'm going to make a wedding, and I'm not going to worry about it for a second. And it was like I looked up at Hashem, like, Hashem, I think you want this to happen. You wanted me to come to Israel. You wanted me to go through all these difficulties that I've had in making Aliyah, and that it hasn't been easy. The Aliyah process is not easy, and I think it was for this very moment, and I'm gonna embrace it. And the Baruch Hashem, in May after that he got married, and everything went really well. Not only that, the 7th night of his Shev Brachos, we made a bar mitzvah. So we had to make a wedding and a bar mitzvah.
Wow.
Book ended by Purim and Pesach, and in between that, we bought our house. So I mean, it was me, my wife, and Hashem. It was a partnership. Me and my wife started working really hard, but we also started davening really hard. There were a lot of tears. I remember I'd be sitting at my desk funny. As I'm saying this, I'm like really remembering. I'm sitting at my desk where I'm sitting right now, and it would be mincha time, and I'd run up the street. It was a Corona minion on my friend's street. It was Corona time, and I would, like, in the middle of mincha on like a Wednesday, I'd be crying in Shemona Esrei, because I just, like, when you feel that connection to Hashem, you can really overcome anything. If Hashem is presenting you with a challenge or a test, it's because he knows you can pass. You just have to know that you can pass.
And you passed.
Baruch Hashem. Listen, the test is not over far. Life is, I'm 46. I have another 4 years to go. Then I'll know when I pass.
It's amazing what you say. That, I mean, there's a lot of things to comment on here. First of all, if you tell everybody that they learn the gate of trust, and all of a sudden, or Chavos Levavos, they're going to start being tested, nobody's going to learn the book.
I guess you could put it that way. Or they could look at it another way. They said, yeah, like, I'm gonna learn it and bring it on, baby.
There's a concept in learning about being incompetent, consciously incompetent, and consciously competent. And I think it's possible that as you become more spiritually sensitive and sensitive to Hashem's power, that your view changes until you're like unconsciously competent with bitachon.
Yes. When you just started talking, I was a little bit confused where you're going, and I'm not going to dare to repeat what you just said.
So basically, as you learn brilliant. More, you begin to, it disrupts your view. You think that everything is good, and then when you start to see that there's more, now you're bothered by what you see is lacking. Now you have a lacking that you didn't know was there before, and so it causes us to have to dig deep. It causes us to have to pull down, to ask for more brachas to pull down. And your story and your friend's story is a very good example of needing to summons your power, your spiritual power, to bring down the brachas that you need, because you have a different kind of superpower that you. Right.
That's a beautiful way of saying it. I always tell my kids, and I've always believed this, and you don't see it behind my desk now, but I have a huge poster of Michael Jordan behind my desk. To me, Michael Jordan, he represents greatness.
Is it with the arms spread out? Is it the arms spread out?
The arms spread out one. Literally, it's right behind my desk.
But I see it. You see?
I don't know if I could change it. I don't know if I could change my background while we're on the call, but
I understand.
After the call,
I know which one it is.
But it's a beautiful, and it always reminds me of greatness. I always say to my kids, a person, if you were created, I think the numbers are, there's a 400 trillion chance of you being born, right? So if you were born, Hashem brought you into this world for a purpose. But it's not just a purpose, it's to be great. Everybody has greatness within them, whether now it's just a matter of, are they going to understand and accept it and believe it, and then do something great. And great could be, there's a guy in my neighborhood who literally, I'm not exaggerating, every single night walks, Ramat Beit Shemesh, if you've ever been here, is all circles. All the streets here are circles, concentric circles. You get from one street to the next by walking up steps, or you can walk around circles. This guy, he must be in his 60s, literally walks around the neighborhood every single night with a garbage bag picking up the trash. To me, this guy is a gadol. I said to him once, his name is Gary. I said, Gary, what's your deal? You're picking up other people's trash. He goes, Hashem gave us a gift of Eretz Yisrael. Somebody gave you a gift of a diamond necklace or diamond ring. You keep it clean. My wife gets her ring cleaned every once in a while. You keep it clean. You take care of it. You don't just throw garbage on the floor. So he doesn't say, everybody should clean up their own garbage. He literally goes and does it himself. And every night that I'm driving outside with my kids in the car, or anybody who's in the car, and I see him, and this happens very often, that guy, he's great. That's the greatness that Hashem gave him. Picking up trash in Eretz Yisrael. Nobody else will do that. And it's, greatness you don't have to be the biggest rabbi, the biggest Talmid Chacham, the biggest anything. You could be great in anything. You could be great in bitachon. If you have the bitachon, you can be great.
Beautiful. I thought, Felix, by what you were saying before, I can't even repeat it either, but it seems to me what Donny, from participating and creating and I guess facilitating all of these mitzvah opportunities and seeing bitachon in action, being part of the agent of kindness, one of Hashem's angels in the world, that he himself has become changed in his ability to understand that God's greatness and generosity is unlimited. Is that the case, Donny?
I guess, yeah. I don't like talking about myself like that, but that is the situation. I've seen from the group, again, it's about the people who give are incredible, and they give in incredible ways. And the group has certainly changed me as a person. I say this all the time. I'm not, and I joke about this with my wife, I'm not naturally a giving person, but through the group, through Hashem giving me this gift, and I'm very aware of the fact that I don't know why Hashem chose me to create this, because from what I understand, it hasn't been done before. I've spoken to other charitable organizations. What I'm doing hasn't been done before. Hashem chose me to do it. I don't know why, but I am aware of the fact that he chose me, and I'm grasping the acceptance of that fact. And through that, it has changed me as a person. I have a hard time, if somebody comes to me, they need something on the group, because I'm kind of like the guardian of a lot of people's money. I'm not going to say a lot of different people's money. I say no a lot. I've learned to say no a lot. I think I may say no more than I say yes. And we do a lot of cases. I turn down a lot of cases, and it's hard. It's hard to say no to these families, but if there's other resources for them to get money from, then that's where they should go. Again, we're the last line of defense. But through saying yes, through the giving, through helping other people give, I cannot say that I'm the same person that I was before 2017 when it started. And certainly once I started really focusing on it in like 2020, I'm not the same person. I like to say me and Hashem are very close. I feel on a daily basis, I feel very close to Hashem. But the funny thing is, I don't see any reason why every other person shouldn't feel the same way that I do. If you could recognize the gift that Hashem is giving you, and I think Hashem is giving, now I'm getting like kind of weird, and I apologize, but I think Hashem gives everybody a different gift. Hashem does give everybody a different gift. If you could look at your life and find the gift that Hashem is giving you, and you could turn it into greatness, it'll become a greatness where it's for Hashem, and you could establish a relationship with Hashem that you didn't know was possible before. And if you have that relationship with Hashem that you didn't know was possible before, you can accomplish anything with that relationship. Hashem can do anything. Keharif ayin. I feel bad to say it, but when the Titanic submarine went down a few weeks ago, something blew me away that I heard a couple of days later. It imploded. One of the newscasters said within 30 thousandths of a second. Can you imagine what that is? I can't, but that's what they said. And if that's a scientific fact, have you ever thought of what the term keharif ayin means? Hashem could change the world. Keharif ayin. 30 thousandths of a second, he changed the world. We think, okay, you go into the makola and something's going to happen. That's a few minutes. It can happen even quicker. It really can. You can take those lessons.
Amazing. Donny, it's, what you're saying really hits with me. I've been a recruiter for many years, and it's interesting in talking with people how some people really understand their job, do their job very, very well, and they're happy. They're very, very happy. They have long careers. They know what their gifts are. They have a great deal of success. And sometimes people don't really understand what their gifts are, or they decide that they would like a different gift. They want to exchange their gift for a different gift, and they try a different job, and it gets hard. So what would your advice be to people who, whether it's Hashem, whether it's your accounting firm or whoever, what would your advice be to folks who haven't really understood their gift? How does one find their gift, and how does one then focus on the appreciation?
That is a really hard question. That's a really hard question. That's a very hard question.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks on Gate of Trust.
Maybe if you stand on one leg, it'll be easier.
But however, I'll tell you what I think about it. I think your gift is staring you right in the face. Your gift is right in front of your face. I believe that Hashem talks to a person. And once I recognize this also, I think it also changed me, through their gut. Right over here, that feeling in your stomach when you need to make a decision, whether to do a business deal, invest in the real estate, not invest in the real estate. give your kid money to go out with his friends or not. Simple things like that. Buy your wife a beautiful gift or not. Which one to buy? Any decision that you make, I believe that an adult, now kids are a little bit different because I think it has to develop, but if an adult could look at themselves, look in the mirror and say like, it's coming from here. This decision is coming from here. You have your mind and your gut. Your mind is telling you one thing and your gut is telling you, your mind is saying to do X, your gut is saying Y. Listen to your gut. The answer is right in front of your face. So this person who has a job and they think that they want something better, they're not making enough money. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe it should just be the same job in a different company doing the same exact thing. They're just not in the right place. But people are always looking. I find in the group that the families that I help, they're always looking for something better. I find myself, we didn't get into how the group works, and I don't know if this is the right podcast for that, the right conversation, but I don't often talk to families who need the money. There's usually an intermediary. But when I do, I find a theme where they're constantly looking for something else. Guy one day he wants to be a real estate agent. One day he wants to clean houses. One day he wants to be a recruiter. There's one guy, he's a brilliant guy. He's actually a brilliant guy. He's very talented in a lot of things, but he's trying to do so many things. And I'm like, you need to be successful in one thing. What's the one thing that talks to you? If you could do one thing of all the 5 things that you're doing, what's your gut telling you to do? It's do X. So I'm like, do that and do that only, because that's what you'll be successful at. Don't try to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because you're just trying to get by. You're going to be successful. And when he actually did listen to me, and we actually had a meeting with a few other people in the neighborhood that knew him, and we were like, you just do one thing. It actually changed his life. He started becoming, I don't want to say very successful. He still needs help a little bit. It's not Pasha. His wife is not well. He's got kids, and to climb out of where he came from, but he's doing so much better when he started focusing on one thing. But it was the one thing that his gut was telling him to do. So, I guess my advice would be listen to your gut.
Very nice.
I hope that's good advice.
Amazing. Gate of Trust, Chapter 3. I think we probably said this on the podcast before, but there's a very important point about what are we supposed to do with our lives. And the 4 considerations are our body, our mind, our nature, what we're naturally inclined to, and what we have a tolerance for. So there might be many things that we're good at, but we can't tolerate them, right? But when we recognize that really God can send the parnasa through one means, we don't have to do 5 things. One is enough. So we can focus on using that opportunity to connect to Hashem and letting Hashem fill our bank account, fill what we need in one path only. But I understand you yourself originally came into, you said accounting, but then you came to Israel and you were doing accounting, or how did you get into Elite Israel today? Tell us about how you got there today. And was it just one thing, or did it find you? Did you find it? Was it the gut? How did you get there?
So I should take my own advice and do one thing. I've done many jobs in my life. When I was first married, I think my first job, first of all, I was the type of guy when I was a kid, I was working in a pizza shop, delivering pizzas, making pizza. And then I worked for an exterminator. Even I went to the worst buildings in downtown Brooklyn to exterminate. I'm not even going to get into that. The thought of it makes me nauseous. And then I was in accounting, and like, I can't sit still for so long. And accounting it just wasn't for me. The reason why I went into accounting to begin with was to see how other people make money. What I saw is that people made money by going to real estate. Somehow I ended up in the insurance business. I was doing insurance on the side while I was working in the accounting firm. And then as soon as I was able to make a nice fee on a deal, I actually, walked into the partner's office in the firm. I said, hasta la vista, I'm not coming back. And then I did insurance for a long time until I made Aliyah. I was doing insurance it was maybe 5 to 8 years, something like that. And then when I came here, it was hard to sell American life insurance. There just wasn't enough money into it. So I got into real estate here. I was bringing investors to real estate deals. A friend of mine introduced me to somebody. And then just to fast forward where I am now, when Corona started, a few people were saying to me, you should go into real estate. You should go into real estate. It's going to be really hot. And I was like, no, people have been telling me that for years, that I make a good realtor. So then when Corona started, I got one phone call from a friend. I referred them to another realtor. Second phone call from a friend. I referred them to another friend who's a realtor. The third phone call I remember was on Route 38, which is right outside Beit Shemesh, that connects Beit Shemesh to Jerusalem. And I said to my wife, I was in the car, I said, I think Hashem is sending me a sign that I should go into real estate, like you've been telling me for a very long time. And I took on that client, ended up working for a company. I got myself licensed, which was not easy to get licensed here in Israel, especially during Corona, which is a whole other Siyata Dishmaya story. If you want to hear it, I'm happy to tell it. Basically, what happened was once I decided to become a realtor, the test in Israel is very difficult, and it's in very difficult Hebrew. My Hebrew is okay, not the best, even though I've been here 14 years. I live in Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's very Anglo. All my friends are American. My kids speak Hebrew like Israelis and English like Americans. And that was our goal always. So then I had to take the test to get licensed. And I said, okay, I found an English course, an online course, because you couldn't go to class to take the test. It was Corona. Everything was shut down. In Israel, things were like, I don't know if you remember, it was like majorly locked down over here. So I decided to take the test, and I took an English course online, and I started taking practice tests. I'm like, it's not going to go well. I didn't know how it was going to go, but I was like, this is not going to go well. But I knew that being in real estate was the right thing for me. It was one of those, Hashem is talking to me through my gut, and there's no question in my mind that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I continued doing it. Finally, I set the date for the exam. Date was canceled, pushed off because of Corona. Okay, do another date. Literally for 6 to 9 months, test was scheduled, canceled, rescheduled. And I was like, this is crazy. Now you have to realize this is amazing because I was really scared to go into that exam room. I was like, I know I'm going to fail. So I was like, let's just keep pushing it up. I'm like, I'm okay with that. There's a rule in Israel that if you're here less than 5 years and you fail the real estate exam, you could take it orally. And I heard that when you take it orally, there's a guy, you're sitting in front of a panel of 3 people of the Rishut HaMetaprim. And one of those guys speaks English and he kind of like helps you a little bit. So I was like, oh, I'm here in Israel already 10 years. It's not going to happen. Finally, the date came. I took the test. I'm sitting in a room with 200 Israelis. The test is, I think it was 25 or 50 questions, 2 hours. It was impossible. It was really, really difficult. And I'm looking around the room after 2 hours. I'm like, I can't believe even the Israelis are still here. So like, it wasn't just the Hebrew, it was the material on the test. I failed the test miserably. Then I went home, I immediately wrote an email to the Rishut HaMetaprim here in Israel, and I told them a whole letter how I really want to be a realtor. I need to make a parnasa for my family. I'm going to be the best agent that I can be. But because of Corona, I couldn't take the course that I wanted to. And I have ADHD also. So if you could make an exception to the rule, everybody was making exceptions for everything. I said, please, if you could find it in your heart to do this, please. They wrote me a letter back saying, if you could get us a letter from your doctor saying that you have ADHD. And by the way, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. I may have symptoms of anxiety, to be honest, but it's not ADHD. If you can get a letter from your doctor saying you have ADHD, we'll consider your request. I went to the doctor. Doctor was so happy to write me the letter because he's like, what is this 5-year rule? It's so dumb. You should always be able to take the test orally. So happy to write me the letter. I sent it to them. A couple weeks later, they scheduled my exam. They allowed me to take it orally. I was like, thank you, Hashem. I went in, I took the test. I was extremely nervous because, again, the material that they ask on the exam is more law than actual being a realtor. It's more like a real estate law test versus what you're doing in practice, which is kind of strange. Anyway, thank God I passed it and I got my license, and it was a journey. It was a journey to get to that point, and it was kind of like a glass ceiling had been broken over my head. And Baruch Hashem, that was over 2 years ago. I brought on a partner, and we've been flying ever since. And every single house that I've sold or rented out is always stories. Somebody knows somebody. I could write a book about thank you Hashem stories buying real estate in Israel.
Wow,
it's really
that's amazing. That's an amazing story, and obviously shows that you were brought to a focus point, having done different things. Yes. It all came together. So you should have continued success. That's laka to you. And thank you so much for joining us on our podcast. You've inspired us today to become givers, bigger givers, realizing we're just agents for Hashem. Like you're a real estate agent and an agent of Hashem. We're agents of Hashem to bring goodness and kindness to the world. So more than those in need or help, we the givers are really the ones who receive the most. So thanks for your giving to us and to others, and for your kindness that you give everyone an opportunity to fulfill.
It's my pleasure, and being on this podcast is really an honor. I never thought that I would be on something like this, and I think what you guys do is is absolutely incredible. And again, like I said before, I'm into all the chemistry that the two of you have. I think it can't be easy to do a podcast with two people. You guys are absolutely fantastic. And thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to come on and tell my story. And hopefully if I can inspire even one other person to use the tools that Hashem has given them through bitachon, it's all worth it.
Donny, it's incredible. Before we leave, can you tell everybody how they can find you at Elite Israel Realty and also how they can join the Mitzvah Opportunity?
Okay, so the best way to reach me is always WhatsApp. You guys have my phone number. I don't know if I should say it on the podcast or not, but the best way I live on WhatsApp. And at any given time of the day, I'm involved in multiple conversations, real estate and tzedakah related and family related. So that's the best way to reach out to me. My email is donnyfein@gmail.com. The way you join the group, I don't just throw out the join link for the WhatsApp group. I just need to kind of make sure that people are givers on the group. Happy to talk to anybody though. They send me their contact information and I put them on the group. And then in regards to real estate, the same thing. Just shoot me a message 24/6, and I'm happy to work with you.
Beautiful. Donny, I think beyond this Mitzvah Opportunity, you've exemplified the fact that when you find your, zone of genius or your area of greatness and you dedicate it to Hashem and helping Hashem do things in this world, that you can really achieve incredible things beyond your own imagination. And as Felix was saying, not only are you helping those who are in need, but you're really helping yourself and helping the whole world around you. So I want to applaud you and all the good things you're doing. I hope we all can take advantage of this Mitzvah Opportunity to help another Yid or help another person wherever we can, whenever we can. So thank you for your inspiration, Donny.
It's my pleasure. They're saying mitzvah goreres mitzvah. One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. I say hashra goreres hashra. Inspiration breeds inspiration. You're inspiring others, I'm inspiring others, and people should just be able to continue to inspire others. And I think through that we can bring the ultimate Gula and Mashiach. I really believe that.
Amen. Thank you, Donny.
Thank you, Donny.
Thank you. You too, guys. Take care.
Wow, Felix, what do you think?
Well, they have a saying. Sometimes you got to put your money where your mouth is, or you got to find a way to raise the money so that you can take it to the people who need it. So it really just such an amazing organization that he's created. Again, he's really committed, and he just made so many good points.
What I understand, if you're a proud member of the Mitzvah Opportunity, he'll send out these reports on a weekly or monthly basis telling how many hundreds of thousands of shekels they've given out, and they've given to fill-in, or they've helped people with food, and it's just incredible. So yeah. It's like real-time help. Again, as I described it, Hatzalah for tzedakah. People who need money now and need help now, they can reach out to Donny, and the group can deploy what is needed to help those in need.
It's great. He's added KPIs to mitzvahs. I love it. Deliverables, real deliverables.
Remind me of the joke.
It was, tourist goes to Israel and gets in a cab, gets to the first light, it's red, and the cab driver punches the gas and goes through it. Doesn't say anything because he's like, I'm a stranger. What do I know? Like, what's going on? Gets to the next light, it's green, and he stops. So he goes, I can't help myself. I didn't say anything before, but at the red light you went, at the green light you stopped. Like, what's going on? He says, what, are you crazy? The other guy has a red light. You want to get us killed?
Beautiful. I think we have to recognize when there's a red light, when there's a green light, and always make sure we're doing the right thing.
100%. Shkoyach, Donny Fein, and everyone that supports him. So look forward to seeing that link, and hopefully I can get accepted in the WhatsApp group.
Thank you for listening to the Gate of Trust podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a rating, and share the podcast with the people you love. To access today's show notes, ask Matt and Felix a question, or suggest a Gate of Trust story to be featured on the show, visit gateoftrust.org/podcast.
You think you got it under control, you're on a roll, living it up, living your dreams. But when it all goes bust at the seams, then you scream and cry to the one